On today's show, we talk to Stephen Cole on Open Here, have a community conversation with Wendy Botello and Pam Ballerino of Child and Family Services, hear original poetry from Michael Shea, Miriam O'Neill, and Susan Thanis, and get a short Just the Facts update on Plymouth Town government.
And if you're looking to learn or just have some fun, we'll also be talking about classes, programs, and upcoming things to do in Plymouth, Pembroke, Kingston, and Duxbury.
We're glad you're here. Let's get started. How did a speech by former Massachusetts Governor Bill Weld inspire in one 12-year-old a passion for enhancing quality of life through economic development? Tiff sat down with Stephen Cole, now very much an adult, and the executive director of the Plymouth Foundation to find out.
I'm with Stephen Cole from the Plymouth Foundation. Welcome. So good to have you.
Hi, Tiff. So glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Let's dig in.
All right.
Tell us about your early background. Where did you grow up?
So I grew up on Cape Cod. I call it Peninsular Plymouth sometimes. And I now live in Buzzards Bay, which I also call sometimes Continental Cape Cod. Pretty reciprocal, but I grew up on Cape Cod, went away for a few years to go to Westfield State, got my master's at Trinity in Hartford. And then after I was done working for the city of Hartford, I boomeranged back and I came back to Massachusetts, coming into this role about 6.5 years ago.
Ooh. So what led you here professionally where you are today?
Into economic development?
Yes.
I started my career in Springfield. The city of Springfield had a financial control board, so it had some financial and economic difficulties at the time. I started as an intern, became a mayor's aide, mayor's chief of staff, and it was during that time I realized, we can spend all day counting beans, right? But it doesn't make more beans. You have to do something different. And my whole focus went from finance to economic development. It was there I realized that you can solve old entrenched problems in a community using new money, new resources, fresh ideas. A lot of variables that go into economic development really appeal to me. Like it's a collaborative approach to problem solving in a lot of ways. And it certainly uses all levels of government, local, state, in some cases county and national. So I gravitated toward it during my time in Springfield because it really helped me better understand how cities run, how they grow, and how they remain stable for its citizens.
Wow, you really worked your way up. That's incredible.
I started young. I think I knew what I wanted to do right away, and that helped me, But I met some really wonderful people while at Westfield State. Some friends who live in the area. Shout out to my friends, the Cunyas, Jay, Maggie, Kate, and Chance and Olivia. They were one of the things that really helped me want to come back here. With the skill sets that I acquired, I wanted to apply it in my own kind of community, the place where I grew up. So when I came back to the area, I settled on Buzzards Bay, and it gave me great access to places like Plymouth.
Excellent. Tell me about the Plymouth Foundation. What's your mission?
Sure. So we're organized as a 501c3. We're a nonprofit. There's 13 board members. The president is Bill Hallisey. Vice president is Jay Kimball. Jack Meal is our treasurer, and Kevin O'Reilly is our clerk. But we also have Amy Naples on our board, who's the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce. Matt Muratori, former state representative. So it's a really great cross-section of disciplines and levels of community engagement. Our purpose is to enhance our purpose is to enhance quality of life, right? That's what economic development really is supposed to focus on, enhancing quality of life, and in ways that don't necessarily degrade the built environment or the natural environment. So one of the things that we focus on is land use. How do we responsibly use our land so that the town can generate the type of tax revenue that it needs to deliver its services, but it also uses the land in a way that creates high-paying, meaningful jobs for people so they can afford to live in this area. We also focus on small business development, so we help small businesses start and grow. Entrepreneurship, which is one of my favorite things that we focus on. Things like the Children's Business Fair, which I know you folks are familiar with, and also the Blue Economy Conference. We celebrate entrepreneurship there. And then what we call marketing events and cultural assets, MECA. So we're a tourism economy. We have a lot of wonderful historic assets here in Plymouth that other communities would be desperate for. So we want to celebrate those and use those as part of our economic development strategy.
You had mentioned Blue Future happening on October 16th. Can you tell us what's going on for this year?
I'll be very glad to. In fact, so this is our first year. Or excuse me, did I say first year?
Yeah.
It's our fourth year. During our first year, we set the mission, the purpose, that we wanted to not just explore the innovation that's happening in the blue economy, but we also wanted to put Plymouth at the helm, so to speak, right? Really show Plymouth as a leader in blue economy. And what does that mean? Well, what we think it means is AI, quantum, robotics, aquaculture. We have companies in Plymouth that operate in all of those areas. We've seen really impressive increase in the amount of aquaculture that we're seeing produced. We also have a robotics company. I'm sure you know, but we launched submarines at Cordage Park thanks to Green Sea IQ. So we want to celebrate what we have, but we know that there's a lot more opportunity for us. We have 37 miles of coastline. We're also at the nexus of 3 what they call CZM zones, coastal zone management. So we're the gateway to Cape Cod and the South Coast, and then access, of course, up into the North Shore, Boston and the North Shore. There's 78 coastal communities in Massachusetts. I do believe that Plymouth has the most to offer as a leader in blue economy.
So last year at Blue Future, this really stuck with me. You said if Massachusetts was cut off from the rest of the world, we would have less than a full day's calories to support us. So in what ways can we invest in our local food systems?
That's a great question. And thank you for picking that up, because that's one of the things, and for what it's worth, I was parroting back what the state has told us. You know, we have this feeling, I think, these days that we live in perpetual crisis. But what is the crisis? It's an energy crisis. It's a jobs crisis. It's a housing crisis. It's a water crisis. One of the crises that we actually live under is a food crisis. And we saw some of this during the pandemic. You know, about a third of the food supply chain is reserved mostly for restaurant, right? Another third or so is reserved for manufacturing. So you produce higher levels of things and processed foods. You know, only about a third or so, we understand, was coming into grocery stores. So if we were cut off from production, Massachusetts, I understand, does not have enough calories on our shelves to feed the state for even a day. Part of what we do in the Blue Economy Conference is to expose people to problems. Entrepreneurs solve problems. So we want to expose them to the problems and encourage them to work on ways to solve them. One way we can do that, if we know that land is scarce and farmland isn't readily available, we can look to our ocean. I mean, there's protein-rich food products right at our shore. So we have shellfish, shellfish growers here that have been wildly successful. And I just want to take a second too to talk about the economy of an oyster for a second, right? Okay. This is something that grows and then you wholesale it for 53 cents, right? The whole thing, including the meat inside. You sell it to a restaurant for 53 cents. And then the restaurant sells it to you for $3.50. And what did they really do? All they did was open it up and put cocktail sauce on the side, right? And then you take that shell and then you throw it away. And now it has no intrinsic value. Until, of course, you go to the Children's Business Fair and you see how young entrepreneurs are taking those shells and turning them into art and selling them for $20 per side of the shell. So you take something that has a natural value of, say, 53 cents, and at the very end of its life cycle, you can sell it for $40. There's something really valuable there, and that's why we try to bake in the arts conversation too in our conversations around blue economy. It has a place. So it's a long way to say that we can't solve all of our problems ourselves, but if we encourage entrepreneurs to think about ways that they can use resources more mindfully to help achieve things like food production, we might be able to present ourselves as somewhat resilient.
You had mentioned about art, and the foundation definitely talks about art a lot and focuses on that. Why is that? Can you expand on that?
I can certainly tell you from my perspective why I am interested in art. Mm-hmm. And let me just pull out my, yep. So when I was a kid watching reruns of Star Trek, this was sci-fi. And now life has imitated art. And that's an important lesson that I carried with me through my life. There's plenty of times where you can look at art also as a way to have very hard, complex conversations in a community. Artists do a really great job taking these really complex ideas and then condensing them into something that's pictorial. Why, though, we focus on art in the blue economy is because there's no shortage of examples where art is already nestled into blue economy. And we added it to the STEM curriculum because poetically, with STEAM, you have power. You can do anything with steam. We've shown that through the Industrial Revolution. So I really wanted to have arts baked into the economy here for Blue Economy, but I also think arts is underrepresented in Plymouth's broader economy. And so talking about it as a strategy, I think is not just permission for people to participate in the arts space, but it's also a bit of a challenge. I mean, I see artists also as entrepreneurs. It's a difficult word to adopt, but entrepreneur is a real thing. You know, it's not just that life imitates art. Sometimes we're looking to artists to give us some direction on where we should be going.
We've talked about the foundation's mission. What about your mission? What about your own personal mission?
I just want to do good. I mean, I don't know that I know what I need to know to do the good that I seek to do, but I just want to do good in the community. I think of myself when I was a kid, right? And we grew up on public assistance. And I think that I want to be the person I feel like I needed at that time. And at all stages of your life, you can come into some kind of complications or setbacks. And I think through economic development, we can help people problem solve for themselves. We do workforce training with our partners, right? We do the Children's Business Fair partly because I wanted to take away that mysticism at a young age, right? So when you're a fifth grade and you look under the bed and you see there's no boogeyman there, right? It makes you bolder and braver to do some of these audacious things later in life. Running a business for an adult who's never done it before can be very scary. But when you did it in fifth grade and you made money at it, it's something you're probably more likely to be confident to do later in life. So that's really what I think I want to do. I want to be the guy who fills the gaps in the community to help people ascend economically the way I was able to.
Is this your passion? Is this what you were born to do?
I didn't know it then when I was a kid. But yeah, I remember watching Governor Weld make an announcement about welfare reforms when I was 12. And with all the hubris of a 12-year-old, I remember thinking, if he knew what I knew, right? So I thought I had to be governor of the Commonwealth in order to kind of solve these problems that I was seeing even at the age of 12. When I was post-college and I had seen what economic development was, no one had exposed me to that before. So it was a very easy pivot for me to go, say, from an interest in finance to an interest in economic development. I'll just tell one really quick story, if that's okay.
Sure.
Blight in major urban areas is a problem, and its pervasiveness is not contributing to economic development. You need to get rid of blight, i.e. you have to demolish buildings. And when I was a young, aggressive, probably very pompous young man right out of college working in the mayor's office in Springfield, we had a building that had been complained about for 20 years, right? And no one had done anything about it. It was finally slated to be demolished. And this little old lady called the office and asked if we could delay the demolition because her grapes that she grew in her backyard were nearly mature. And the vibrations from the demolition would cause the grapes to sour. And she uses those grapes for jellies, jams, wines. And this was really important to her. I initially dismissed that. I thought, there's no way we can do this or we should do this. This building has been complained about by the community for 20 years. The mayor at that time sent me to her house to meet her and to see the grapes and to see her yard. And I got to really sense the value of those grapes to her. It was just as important that that house came down. But if we could delay it just 2 more weeks, her quality of life could be enhanced, not just from selling these things, but also that kind of feel-good thing that I grew something and now I have a finished product. That's manufacturing. That's entrepreneurship. And that was one of those pivotal moments for me where I realized, it's not just about economic development for the community. Economic development is for people, the people in the community. And that's when I think I realized I wanted to do economic development for the rest of my life.
Well, the people in the community are lucky to have you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Making small changes to your financial and estate planning can not only reduce your income tax and estate taxes, but also help support the charitable organizations you care about. Learn how at the Duxbury Senior Center from Nancy von Stackelberg of Radius Wealth Management and Sean Hagan from Long, Hagan, Huff, Harris on Wednesday, September 24th at 1:30 p.m. Visit the Senior Center's website to register or call the front desk at 781-934-5774, extension 5703.
Next, Child and Family Services CEO Wendy Botello sits down with VP of Acute Care Services Pam Ballerino on Community Conversations.
Hi everyone, we're here to talk about our Community Behavioral Health Center at Child and Family Services right here in Plymouth. Specifically, we want to talk about our mobile crisis vans that are coming soon. Pam, can you tell us a little bit about these mobile crisis vans?
Yeah, thank you. So Child and Family, we've been in Plymouth for quite some time as the mobile crisis team. And what that entails is that we have master's levels clinicians and support staff that go out into the community and see individuals that are struggling with mental health or substance abuse. That is, you give us a call and we dispatch within 60 minutes of getting a call of somebody who's struggling. But you also have the option of just walking into our office, which is at 61 Industrial Park here in Plymouth. So part of the mobile crisis is we're seeing individuals that are struggling, and when they're struggling, you could be really vulnerable at that moment. You might be struggling and don't know where to get help. And our team is out there really to just encourage you to get help, making sure people are safe, and really giving them the resources that they need. One of the things that came about this is we started talking about, initially I think it just starts as a joke, what if we had a van that was just out on the road? And then, soon enough I started doing some research and looking into, are there mobile crisis vans out in the community that are doing this work? I found it to be interesting because not a lot of states had this model, but the states that I did find that had this model was, especially in California. So San Francisco started this in 2021. And when I realized the data and what the outcomes were, I was like, okay, I think we can do this in Massachusetts. At which point, I went to you.
That's right. And we're in support of these innovative ideas that allow us to bring crisis services right to the clients in the community, right? Can't say that right away. We were like, yeah, let's do this. How are we going to do this? How are we going to fund it? How's it going to work? But Pam was able to do a lot of research and figure all of those things out, which made it a really easy decision to say, yeah, let's do this. This is going to help the community.
Yeah. So when you think about this, right, so it's kind of just a partnership with what we're already doing. So as a crisis team, we're already out on the road. People go in their own vehicles and they're going out to see individuals. And when I say go see individuals, we're talking through the age spectrum. So as little as 1, 2, 3-year-olds to like 100 plus. So, so we do see everyone of all ages, even though our name is Child and Family, we see everybody. So what we found is that in addition to having our staff going out into the community to provide the service, it would also be nice to be able to have a van that can drive around and it's very, it's pleasing to the eye, but it also has that piece of privacy, right? So like when you're going to these areas where there's a lot of unhoused individuals and, and they're in these camps that they might not have cars, they might not have money to get on the bus to go, maybe come to our site for some help. But by seeing us every single day out there, maybe one day they'll knock on the door and say, I'm struggling, I really do need some help.
Pam, can you tell us a little bit about the folks that you do see who are in crisis? What does that look like? How does a person know, whether it's in the van or not? How does a person know that they should contact our agency?
So one of the biggest things is people always think of the word crisis, but they forget we also have the word intervention in our name. So we're a mobile crisis intervention. Our goal is to intervene before you get to a stage that you're in such a crisis that being in the community is unsafe for you. So what we do is we do a complete assessment. It's a master's level clinician that sees the individuals, and based on seeing that individual will assess, determine what we call level of care. Is this individual safe to stay in the community? And if they are safe to stay in the community, what can we do to support them to stay in the community, right? Do they need an outpatient psychiatrist? Do they need an outpatient therapist? Do they require a little bit more than that, right? A partial hospitalization? Do they require like a voluntary level of care to the crisis stabilization unit? All of which, without the exception of the PHP, we're able to offer within Child and Family. So our team is literally out there saying, okay, how can I best provide a service to these individuals to keep them safe in the community? But then there are times that we can't keep them in the community. And those times are really difficult. So when someone is completely unsafe, they are suicidal, they cannot maintain safety, at which point we would do an inpatient psychiatric admission. Most of the, we at times can do what we call a direct admit, but in Plymouth with our resources and us really trying to up the resources that are already here, we work really closely with Beth Israel to get individuals to a safe place.
Great. So does a person have to be suicidal in order to get a crisis evaluation?
No, not at all. We prefer that they actually reach out to us before they get to that stage. The goal is to interrupt you getting to the place where you're going to feel suicidal. So part of the van model, right, is you being out there with people least expecting to see this van, and you're in an area that folks are like, okay, what is this van? And then you start chit-chatting with the clinician and the support person in there and asking, like, I had this happen last week. We had some people come up to the van in a different area and say, what is this? And when I start explaining what we're doing, like we're here to help you. If you're really struggling with mental health and substance abuse, just knock on our door. We'll bring you in. You'll have a private place. It's an office inside the van, and it's completely private. We'll have a private place we could sit with you and talk to you and see what we could do to help. And they were just like, wow, this is awesome. Because you don't necessarily always have the means to get on the bus or to call us because you don't have a phone. And we're trying to eliminate barriers to treatment. And this van really is going to just enhance what we're already doing, but really breaking down those barriers.
Can you tell me a little bit more about what staff will be in the vans? Right, so I heard the staff that are out there doing the crisis intervention. How does that play out in the van?
Yeah, so the van will be equipped with one master's level clinician as well as a support staff. So the support staff could either be a peer specialist, a recovery coach, or a recovery care navigator. Those individuals have, you know, a majority of them have real life experience. So they're able to actually say, like, you know, if it's a peer specialist, to be able to say, like, I too suffer from mental health. I too have gone inpatient in the past. I know what it's like to be in your shoes. Or I too have, you know, relapsed in the past, or I am in recovery, and here's what my recovery journey looked like for me, right? How can I help you get onto that journey? So that second person is so key, because even though they're not the clinician, they're coming with so much experience from real life experience that you hope that the individual they're meeting with can connect with that person and say, you know what? I do want some help from these folks. You know, and this is just, you know, the van is one fraction of what we do at Child and Family in Plymouth, right? So we have our open access, which it's real, again, breaking barriers. You want treatment, you don't have a therapist, you don't have a psychiatrist, knock on our door. It's 7 days a week. We have somebody that can meet with you and make a decision at that point. Do you need outpatient therapy? Do you need an urgent psychopharmacy psychiatrist? Do you need groups, right? And so that's in a complement to the mobile crisis piece. And the mobile crisis is those folks that are just a bit to hit that crisis or have hit it. So going to open access might be, they need more than that. So mobile crisis would assist with those kinds of individuals. The nice thing is there's no wrong door. So once a person walks through our door or calls us, we will guide you from there. You don't have to try and figure out, do I need to go to open access or do I need crisis? The team there is, you know, trained well enough to know what avenue somebody should take.
I'd love to hear a little bit about how we will interface with EMS, with police, fire, with the hospital, right? To really do some more diversion from the emergency room.
Yeah. So many folks, I always say this is a joke, but we have the police co-response here in Plymouth. We've been doing it for several years with Chief Flynn's team. It is a really successful. It's 7 days a week, 16 hours a day, and it's a really great program that Plymouth has. The reason I say we joke about this is because nobody realizes that the clinicians that are embedded in the police cruisers are actually child and family mobile crisis clinicians that are in there. But I'm okay with it because it just tells me that the police department in the town has really embraced this model and really know that this model works. So in addition to having a mobile crisis team that's 7 days a week, you also have your police co-response program. And then you have like this van going out there. And in addition to that, we have a really good working relationship with Beth Israel. And we keep them up to date with anything that we're doing in the community, any changes. They're aware of the mobile crisis van that's going out. And they really also not only support us, but they also promote us. The goal is when somebody goes to the emergency room, I always have this saying, it's a 70-30 flip that you want, meaning that in the past, prior to the CBHCs kicking off in 2023, 70% of patients would go to the emergency room for help. And 30% could use us in the community. We're trying to flip it. So what we're trying to say is that 30% that's going to the emergency room, that's the 30% that needs to be there. The 70% that we can manage in the community, we want you to call us. Let us try and keep you out of the emergency room. And for Beth Israel, that is really significant for them because it really allows them to not be so overwhelmed with the crowd that's walking in and wanting to provide really good care to these individuals. But the resources, they might not have those resources. We have it. So let us figure it out in the community so that the folks that are going to the emergency room are there because the resources that the hospital has is the resource they need.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah. So, Pam, what are you hoping that these vans bring to the community of Plymouth? What do you hope to achieve in the end?
I'm going to go back to the word barriers. My goal is to really break down those barriers for individuals that are struggling. I think people would be surprised to hear that, when we were doing the police co-response program, we wanted to pull data, and it was 70-75% of the folks that the police were going out to were either suffering from mental health or substance abuse. So that's a huge percentage of calls for service. Our goal is to decrease those calls for service within the police department as well, and the van be that additional support out in the community, and really just being accessible to individuals that are really struggling. And ultimately, you might not say yes to wanting help initially or even the second time or even the third time, but if you build trust with the staff that's out there, at some point you might say, you know what, I am ready. I'm ready to get some help. And really, once you get that help, right, how do we keep you off the streets, right? How do we help you get into a place? How do we help you get into treatment? And really try to give you a pathway of success.
So I'm going to sum up a couple of things that I heard, right, and tell me if I got it right. But what I'm hearing is that there is access to mental health treatment here in Plymouth, right, through the Community Behavioral Health Center. And there's this crisis intervention team that can go to somebody's house, go somewhere in their community, can come to us, right, and now has this really innovative way of bringing a van out into the areas of Plymouth, right, where they can be seen and spotted, and somebody can just walk right in and get services anytime that they see the van or at our location. Did I miss anything?
No, you did not.
All right. And also working really collaboratively with the hospital here, the local Beth Israel team, to really work on hospital diversion. So that way folks are not waiting in the emergency room for long periods of time when they might have opportunities to be able to be met in the community. So changing that narrative, right?
That's exactly what we want to do. We want to change the narrative. We want people to realize it's okay to ask for help. And it's okay to not have to go to the emergency room to get that help. And that if you are feeling suicidal, just because you're feeling suicidal doesn't necessarily mean you need to go to the emergency room either, right? If you're feeling suicidal, calling, the mobile crisis team and saying, like, I'm not in a good space, I'm having all these horrible thoughts, I'm feeling suicidal, let us work with you. Let us figure this out, because there are services out there even for those individuals that are not necessarily inpatient psych admission. So, and folks don't realize that. You think that or maybe your loved one is the one that's struggling with, suicidal thoughts and you don't know what to do. Call us. Let us figure this out, right? Our staff are 24/7. We have a call center that manages all of our catchment area, including Plymouth. And it's 508-996-3154. It is always answered with a master's level clinician 24/7. And there's always a supervisor on site. And I think one of the things that I missed saying earlier is that when the clinician does see an individual, I think it's important to note that they have an idea of what they want to do for a plan, and they work closely with the patient to develop a plan. But there's a whole entire supervisor that has to approve that plan. But we also have psychiatry on call. So if we have to access our psychiatrist, we will. So there is so many of the layers that folks don't realize that we go through when we see somebody. So it's not just seeing somebody making a decision and being done. There are folks that you have to talk to make sure that we're making the right decision.
Thanks for sharing that number with everyone, Pam. All right, so now the last question. When should we expect to see these vans here in Plymouth?
Yeah, so I would say officially for Plymouth, to work out any kinks, because we did kick off in a couple of other cities, is our goal is by January 1st that we will be out there and rolling around in the town of Plymouth and providing the service. It might be sooner than that, but the latest would be January 1st.
And I'll put a plug in that on September 22nd at the waterfront, we're having a ribbon cutting for the van. So if you're interested coming out and seeing it, we'd love to have you out and see the van as we're getting it ready to roll.
Yep.
All right, very good. So Pam, I know that I'm super excited. This has been a project and something that we've talked about for a long time. Extremely proud of the team and our organization for being able to support this and get this out here in the community. Thank you.
I'm excited. It's the first in the state, and I can't wait to see what it's going to do.
Great. Thank you.
Are you an LGBTQ+ senior looking to meet new friends? Move your peace across the board to the Duxbury Senior Center for LGBTQ+ Game Night on Wednesday, September 25th at 5 p.m. Connect with new people or have fun with some you already know playing easy, icebreaker-style games in a fun and relaxed environment. And it just isn't game night unless there are pizza and snacks, so be ready to munch. No experience is needed for any of the games, and everyone is welcome. Come as you are.
A school dormitory for boys during the academic year, Powder Point Hall in Duxbury existed from 1887 to 1925 and transformed during the summer months into a hotel, offering travelers to the South Shore activities like golf, tennis, and boating on Duxbury Bay. The main building became the National Sailors' Home in 1930, remaining a home for retired mariners until it closed its doors in 1974. This structure has a story, and you can hear more about the history these walls have seen in a talk by town historian Tony Kelso on October 1st at the King Caesar House Barn at 120 King Caesar Road. Presented by the Duxbury Rural and Historical Society, Powder Point Hall Summer Hotel and National Sailors' Home will run from 5:30 to 7 p.m. Pre-registration is required. Visit duxburyhistory.org to get your tickets.
Next up is Plymouth Poet Laureate Miriam O'Neill.
And now we're going to close out with our own Plymouth Poet Laureate Miriam O'Neill.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for inviting us to do tiny poetry. I avoid it. So it was a really good practice. And then I found myself just falling in love with it. But because I write longer poems, I had to write a series. So I'm going to read you a Shizho series. If anybody has ever seen the documentary film Free Solo about Alex Honnold, who scaled the Yosemite, the face of Yosemite, it's amazing. So I watched that, and then Francis died. And then between those two, I began to think about seeking, because they were both seekers in very different ways. So these are three Shizho, a series in three. Number one is for Alex Honnold. And most of this is his words. You'll see what happens with the words. Preparation is about being a warrior because life depends on your being able to pursue your dream. Your own fear is the blossom that will metamorphose into ripe fruit. Performance. Dial it in if that's what it takes to make it happen. Trust yourself, underline, double, exclamation point. As you are trying, you fall and die, what did you expect? Hollow flake, which is a place on the scale, on the face. It's probably easier for both of us if you leave me here. And don't witness me chalking my way toward the light. My blossom, the maybe dying on the rock face, that is my life. After heart's ledge and hollow. Flake, hard breathing, and the ballet between air and crevice. The exposure, the step out, the karate kick, the crimp. Why have the birds not stopped singing, not stopped their dazzling winging? Final pitch. O world, O wide world, O spilled summer light, now I am warrior come home, wet, ripe, and delighted in my not dead body, my sudden second flowering. So number 2 in the series is a play on the name of the film, Non lo so, which is Italian for I don't know. a CIJO series for Francis. Preparation means knowing your own humanity, because life depends on your willingness to serve the dream of a kinder world. Open the blossom of your fear into a prayer you sing each morning. Performance. Even when you walk in doubt, you are still God's child. Trust your path. Double, double, underline, exclamation point. And if you feel yourself failing, know the trying made you. Hollow flake. It's never easy to face the world alone, so hear this good news. The world is chalked, if only faintly, by the holy light. So blossom, stake your soul on ripening into kindness. After heart's ledge and hollow flake, fill your lungs with deep breaths, steady the pulse of your human heart. Step out, grasp the hand of the needy stranger asking for your help. Hear the birds who never give up their praising. Final pitch and summit. O world, O wide world of singing birds, bearing bright witness, know he is of heaven, his soul ripe in the Lord's delight, that from his unresurrected flesh the holy dove takes flight. 3. Doubt and Faith, a CIJO series for the seeker. Preparation. I learned how to bow my head in silent prayer. Humility included my lips' soundless shaping of the words. O Lord, hear our prayer, the only vocal supplication. Performance. How long should a child be made to kneel before the altar? Trust in God. Double, double, underline, exclamation point. What does it mean to believe in Jesus when you are 7? Hollow flake. It's probably easier if you think God's as real as dirt, to feel the breath of the Holy Father like a feather on your cheek, to stake your life unknowing you're allowed to falter. After heart's ledge and hollow flake, the jitterbug between the once learned and the daily lesson, the karate kick in the ribs of a faith that buckles it a bit before it stands back upright, finds you and steadies you. Final pitch and summit. O world, O wide world of dying, singing birds above this cliff, concussed by war to deafness, I am furled with fear, but trying to coax this battered blossom open, to ripen into fruit. Okay. And I probably ate up a lot of time on that one, so I'll just do. I have a little Tonka series, just 2 Tonka that, a diptych, if you will. And then after Miyazawa Kenji, who we read when we were reading the example, he was in the examples that Jennifer and I chose. It's called Tonka Series, Last Day. That day, the clock ticked, a halyard against the mast, as if tapping out the time to keep him traveling a sea he had forgotten. Carried him, lungs a taut, hard knot, surging, his bruised heart all ballast broken, his flesh a cargo that could not reach port, nor fog the breath. And then to lighten things up, I went to France. No, not literally. I went to France to the Triolet, which is a little 8 syllables, couplets of 8 syllables, and it's 8 lines. This is called, there are 2 of them, The Lover's Lament, a Triolet. How loud you snore, my love, how deep since first it was you came to sleep beside me. Through years, most often sweet, how loud you snore, my love, how deep. No easy drift to dreams, at least no quiet count of jumping sheep. How loud your snore, my love, how deep since first it was you came to sleep. The Other Lover's Lament, a Triolet. Oh, I have rolled you once or twice from side to side while you lay sleeping, nose whistling in the dead of night while I listen. It isn't nice to ask your love to pay the price to lie awake instead of dreaming. So yes, I've rolled you once or twice from side to side while you lay sleeping.
Dave Antoine is up next with a Just the Facts update on Plymouth town government on the local scene.
After a month off, the Plymouth Committee of Precinct Chairs reconvened on a Thursday night to go over their August agenda. The meeting began with Town Clerk Kelly McElreath providing a walkthrough of a new section devoted to town meeting members on the town website. The purpose was to show the members and the greater public how they can find information related to their precinct. Kelly cited the cross-collaborative work with her department and with Jade Anderton of the Town Manager and Select Board's office. Jade had worked with the new software to manage the 60-plus boards and committees throughout town. This led to 18 committees consisting of town meeting members. The larger picture was how the public can learn about their precinct and how to communicate with their representative. Chairman Matt Tavares praised this work, citing that this is bringing us forward into a great world. Kelly then addressed the recent Zoom bombings that have been in the local news. As the state ruled that hybrid meetings can take place into July 2027, Kelly voiced her support for what these meetings can do for residents and seeing them attend and be recognized by the board. However, she highlighted the reality of Zoom security, given open meeting laws working within the technological variables of IT security and the internet itself. Town IT has created an instructional sheet on best practices for protecting one's Zoom for the boards and committees that use the hybrid format in a process that will help better prepare those administering the Zoom. The board then moved on to Shishigahama, Japan, with member Pompey Delafield recapping the trip that he and fellow town officials and students took to visit their sister city. Mr. Delafield discussed how their sister city dealt with the aftermath of the 2011 tsunami, part of an educational tour that gave the visiting delegation the chance to see the similarities and subtle differences between the communities. Data became a recurring topic with 2 other agenda items, an update on the work from the Legislative Oversight Committee and the latest with the Handbook Committee. The former had member Alan Costello discuss the 2 summer meetings of their committee, with Mr. Costello striking an optimistic tone on the data they discovered. This committee looked into the progress made on past town meeting articles, dating back as far as 2020, but going further. What they found within the data was that the savings coming out of the completed projects that led to over $1 million in surplus money. But the exciting part to Alan was possibly due to the ongoing background changes in any organization such as turnover or staff departures. The exciting part was that from all of this, it could help lead to discover additional money that could help fund future projects. A spreadsheet was provided by Assistant Kristen Ford, a driver of the data gathering. This spreadsheet consisted of 157 past town meeting articles over the years as a means to discover where the money is distributed. The committee is looking to formalizing a process in the future and how the data can be publicly available. Chairman Tavares requested that the committee have a full presentation, one that is planned for the November meeting. Lastly, Carvin LaFury presented on the work that the Handbook Committee is performing, given the last approved handbook was in 2012 with limited 2017 revisions. Carmen discussed the work that they have ahead, given the latest input they've received from the precinct chairs and their constituents. The Plymouth Committee of Precinct Chairs will return twice more to the Great Hall. This has been your Plymouth government on the local scene.
The next Triad meeting at the Kingston Council on Aging on Monday, September 29th will address some recent scams that are targeting our senior community. Lieutenant Mike Scovira and Detective Heath Howell from the Kingston Police Department will discuss how to recognize and avoid these cons and what you can do to protect yourself from identity theft. The meeting is free, for real, not a scam. Starts at 11:30 a.m. and will be followed by a light lunch. To register, call the center at 585-0511, or just stop by, say hi, and sign up in person.
Win over your Thanksgiving guests this year with a heaping serving of old gravy. Not convincing? An old recipe for gravy dating back to the year 1615 is what's cooking at Plymouth Patuxent Museum's 10 a.m. class on October 19th. Learn how to cook this flavorful, historical sauce, replete with savory onions and tongue-tingling spices. The turkey gravy will be accompanied by a stewed pompion, the ancient New England standing dish of spiced squash cooked over a low fire. The class will be 2 hours long. Visit plymouth.org to register for your spot.
A confection known to enhance mood and inspire shared indulgence, chocolate, in all its creamy, sensuous, and delightful forms, is the inspiration for Eat Your Words, Chocolate and Poetry at the Spire Center on October 11th from 12 to 3 p.m. One of the many chocolate-themed cultural events featured for Chalktoberfest 2025, this one is sure to be a sweet treat. Hear local poets read original works that they've crafted about this dessert that has symbolized love and luxury for over 5,000 years. Chalktoberfest is the first annual chocolate festival in Plymouth and is sponsored by the Plymouth Bay Cultural District and Foodie Federation. Featuring chocolatier Christina Bunda from Stuzy, Chalktoberfest includes a range of chocolate-themed events and exhibitions throughout town spanning October 10th through the 13th. Visit the Foodie Federation Facebook page to learn more.
Flowers are the medium for the upcoming Art in Bloom exhibition at the Plymouth Center for the Arts, when local garden clubs will show floral interpretations of artwork displayed at the PCA's 58th annual Juried Art Show. Stop by the opening reception on Friday, September 26th from 6 to 8 p.m. to get the first peek at the floral art, enjoy some delicious small bites, and enter a raffle to win a gorgeous floral arrangement to take home with you. Tickets are just $20, and all proceeds support keeping the Plymouth Center for the Arts affordable and accessible. The exhibition will be on display through Sunday, September 28th, and admission is free. Gallery hours are 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock on Sundays.
Bump, Set, Spike, Win. The Pembroke Senior Services invites you to have a ball playing beach ball volleyball every second Thursday of the month. This once-a-month program starts at 1 p.m. and is a fun afternoon of friendly competition, laughs, and a great way to get some exercise. It is free to play and all are welcome. Sign up by calling the Senior Center at 781-294-8220.
Here's poet Michael Shea in a reading of his original work.
And now we have Michael Shea. He's an old friend of mine, so it's great to hear him at this poetry reading. Welcome.
I have two poems looking forward to this weekend's celebration of Father's Day. First is to my father, who at a very early age impressed on me the importance of learning language correctly, carefully, and with great reverence. Probably after one of those sessions where I brought home a rather miserable report from the good sisters at Immaculate Conception Grammar School. Speaking, writing, and singing, Mike, are very important to us. I think in my father's mind, language approached Scripture. And in the book of Matthew, that most invocative command, Lazarus, come forth. So this is for Daddy. Words for my Irish father. I spoke with faith that words would mend like balm or arms, or fill like earth the faults of fear, and bond the broken rings with song from ancient airs or druids' charms. I mined for words and tuned the ear to hear the diamond sounds strike light and toll their truths down midnight mines, and watched with mirth the clarion tones eclipse the night. I search for words to soothe the hearts that ache and break for justice' sake. I beat my tongue to balm the bruised, unbroken hope in healing notes a harp would make. Yet here, my Father, who wrought my life and shaped my faith, who breathed in me the blood of race, all words despair to conjure breath and strike the night from your final face. Speedier than I thought. This is both light and dark. It concerns an event with my son when he was 8. He had just joined the Cub Scouts. He was a member of a pack. And their first commission was to gather at Town Cemetery on Memorial Day, I believe it was Saturday morning early, to refurbish the graves with fresh flowers and flags. And he was up for it. On Cemetery, Memorial Day for my son Michael. Inside the wrought iron spears of the gate, we muster some minutes after 10. The marshal, a VFW senior, instructs the squad of Cub Scouts in a voice like rocks knocking how to adorn the veterans' graves with the fresh flowers and flags. Scouts without wagons have brought their sleds to transport geraniums from marker to marker. Eager to enlist in the morning's fray, Michael aims the handle toward my hand. You pull the wagon, Dad, I'll do the plants. I follow orders, yet stepping with a sense of trespass, he with a thrill of the hunt. There's one, he yells, then scrambles off toward a lot beneath a yew, occupied by a small white cross, a rusted sheath, and an urn filled with stalks, shoots, and shade. Michael's quick. He jabs the gold staff through the rings, then drops upon the urn an explosion of red. Easy, he beams. Now, keen with reconnaissance, he scans the field. There's one, he signals, and dashes off with reinforcements. I follow him till morning's end, from grave to fresh-cut grave, through a growing no man's land, estranged from Michael and the dead, for he is free from all the past, and they from all I fear. Thank you.
Prepare yourself for emergencies and gain peace of mind with free CPR and first aid training from Plymouth Fire Department staff at the Plymouth Center for Active Living on Monday, September 29th. This 2-hour community education session starts at 10 a.m. In addition to CPR instruction, you'll receive first aid and fire safety tips. This class is informational, but not a certification. Space is limited and registration is required. Visit the CAL website to sign up. Next is Susan Thanis in a reading of her original work.
And our next reader is Susan Thanis. Good evening. I have poems that are a little bit of Portugal, a little bit of my family, and a little bit of Van Gogh. The first one is reading Yeats on an Algarve beach. With special thanks for inspiration from Yeats's The Indian Upon God. While spying out a place to lay my towel upon the sand, I much prefer the stretch most empty of those seeking tan. One man, one woman, bare-breasted, the only ones I see, make this the perfect spot to let my soul and spirit free. The sea is loud with pounding waves, the boats beyond most still. The sun is hot, the breeze quite cool, my favorite spot until the sun goes down, or hidden behind the clouds its brilliant rays. It's then I know the day has been the best in many ways. I know that Byron would have loved to walk a beach like this, but wonder what Yeats might have thought. Would this have been his bliss? 3 hours pass, the beach much broader, couples wander by, waves pound further off, boat engines roar beyond the sky, below the sky. The moments lost that once I had while reading Yeats alone, I treasure now and wish them back, but know that they are gone. So this is an A and B poem, 2 generations in the same family, my son and his son. Gregory's dog. When you came home from school, your brave beauty would bound out the door, her heady pride crumbling to your caress. Showering affection on your shoulders, she would run with you through fields of goldenrod, 2 pups chasing afternoon idleness, gathering in delight like greedy gamblers. That July day, you returned from the vet with her lying in the crescent of your arm. Turning the earth, you watered it with rare tears to bury the cooler carton marked family, a final irony to play on your heart. Shovel by shovelful, you filled the hole with passion reaped from sorrow, from which one day would arise the phoenix of a father's love. This is part B. A simple smile. How do you hear a smile when there is no sound attached? Only in my mind's eye can I see the small face, his eyes lighting up. Memory has preserved the image I long to hold, to touch, to cradle as I did 3,000 miles ago. Now I must believe his mother that across the land, Nicholas knows my voice, remembers his grandma. And this is an ekphrastic poem. I think I read it once before, but in Boston right now, there's an exhibit of Van Gogh's paintings about the Rouland family, and I especially love this one. My letter to Rouland the postman. Dear friend, let me look into your eyes, blue as the serge suit you are wearing. You deserve so much more than the gold on your jacket. It cannot repay your relationship with my first love, the Dutchman, whom you alone befriended when he was living in Arles. Yes, I know you are married, have 5 children. I've often watched your wife rock the cradle, crooning her lullaby. Your older son once spent time in a small room off my bedroom. Now you inhabit my guest's room. It's so much better having you here, you see. In the past, the only way I got to spend time with you was at the MFA, and then it was never in private. Someone was always watching over my shoulder. Please give me your gnarled hands. Let me massage those arthritic fingers. You know you must keep them in shape. You still have many more years to deliver letters. What a pity you'll never receive mine. Thank you.
And now, let's turn a light on local. Part of our mission as a media center is to welcome members of the community into our studios to record their own show or podcast about subjects that matter to them. The resulting content reflects the diversity of thought and opinion in our neighbors and neighborhoods, but not necessarily the views of the local scene staff, board, or director. We are a platform for free speech. The Reverend E.I. Osborne Jr. is a longtime community producer here at the local scene. Produced right here in Studio B, enjoy this clip from the Reverend's show, The Time Is Now.
God said to tell you everything, not some things, everything. No matter what you're dealing with, you might be dealing with several different issues, going through several different things right now. What God wants you to know is it will be all right. Everything will be all right. Maybe you just got a certified letter, registered letter, whatever the case may be. God says everything will be all right. And so in Romans 8:28, it says, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose. Now, it seems pretty plain and simple to me that God is saying he's going to make everything work together for good, the bad, and so on. But some people, for some reason, they may see it differently. They may have a different interpretation of what the scripture is saying. But if I take it literally for what it's saying, it's telling me God's going to make everything work together for good. And it says, and we know that all things work together for good. Listen to what he says, to them that love God. So first of all, the first prerequisite for you experiencing this is you got to love God. So if you love God, do you love God? Well, if you love God, then in the midst of whatever you're going through, you are one of the people that God has promised to make that issue, that problem, that situation work together for your good. Secondly, to them who are the called according to his purpose. If you are doing everything within your power to fulfill God's purpose and plan for your life, then you qualify. That's another qualification that's necessary to see God make everything work together for your good. If you have those two things covered, then listen, whatever you're going through, whatever you're dealing with, don't worry about it. Don't fear. Don't be afraid. Don't be anxious. God is going to make it all work together for your good.
If you like what you saw, find more of The Time Is Now on Xfinity Channel 6 or Verizon 43. Or visit our community producers YouTube channel at Community on the Local Scene. And that, my friends, wraps this episode of The Local Scene this week. Thank you for watching.
If you live or work in Plymouth, Pembroke, Kingston, or Duxbury and would like to have your own show or podcast, you should. Email community@thelocalscene.media to find out about our free production services and training for community members.
And if you have a story or event you'd like people to know about, email us at story@thelocalscene.media.
We thank our patrons Tiny & Sons, Quintal Brothers, and Squinny's Pizza for supporting our mission of community and action through media.
The Local Scene this week will be back next week with more of what's good and good to know in our area. Until then, we'll see you on The Local Scene. Hello, friend. If you enjoyed this video, please think about scanning the QR code and making a contribution to the local scene. Every dollar is appreciated, and your support helps keep community media alive and our resources free to the community. We'll see you on the local scene.